chance to find a friend. Bailey ran up, then Rayner bursts. He gets on the left, kicks the goal. Back to back they go. The Lions are out of the cave. You can't believe that can happen. Bice twice has delivered the easiest of marks to a man who's pretty deadly.
Out tonight. On the run was Bailey. Almost through. McKenna is goal.
Running about the place. The showman is absolutely. Rayner's got a couple. He's put through his third. He's had a good night and he needed one. He's delivered.
For a rare time inside 50 in the last quarter. Loman with a one-hander. Runs to the open goal. And if you don't mind off the outside of the right boot, that might just about sniff it out.
It is the Brisbane Lions fan cast. We are back after a Thursday night game, which feels like bloody forever ago, if I'm perfectly honest, against the Sydney Swans. The first of two pretty tough weeks. Geelong in Geelong are waiting, but let's revel in the glory that was Thursday night, because it was a fantastic game. I went along, and as this podcast is brought to you by Hop On Brew Tours and EB Biohiker, as well as Crisp Marketing, I actually went to the game with Matt and Joss from Hop On Brew Tours. I caught up with them for a beer beforehand at EB Biohiker. It was a great night all around because the boys were on. Were they back? That is the question. Are the Brisbane Lions back? Is the three-peat still on? There's a question on everyone's lips at the moment because if Thursday night is anything to go by, we are in for a fun back half of the season. So let's enjoy it while we can. There's still another tough test on the road. But my goodness gracious, how good was Thursday night, Pat? Loved it.
It was fantastic. Thank you for that little save there. Now, I rubbed your nose in something that you said last week. Do you remember what I said about the Gold Coast and Fremantle game last week?
Yeah, you said Gold Coast is 100% going to win that game.
I said I thought they were a sneaky, and they are not. So
no, they're not.
You can all laugh at me. I just want to equalise there, but yeah, aside from that, I made some pretty bold statements about, the back half of the season and where I thought we factored in. And I said if we didn't win either one of this or next week, I didn't think we'd make it to prelim final week, but it's back on.
Yeah, I think the general consensus amongst Lion fans was we needed to win one of these two to frank our credentials. I said to you last week, if I had to choose between the two, next week would be the one, Geelong and Geelong. Just because Geelong's form's been a lot better as well. Sydney's form leading into the bye, they were scratchy against St Kilda, they were scratchy against Port Adelaide. They just got over the line in those last two games. So, but still, a 7-goal win, no injuries, and the way in which we played. Votes are going to be tough this week, is what I'll say, because
yeah.
A really good all-round team performance. The midfield was on. The defensive intent was on. We changed a few things up. The way we used Harris, the way the CBAs unfolded across the night. It was really, really good. I could not speak higher enough for that game, and I was in shock most of that game. At halftime, I did say to the people, I was like, all right, third quarters have been shaky for us leading into the bye, so that is going to be where I'm going to mark us essentially. And we came out all guns blazing again. Brilliant.
Yeah, it was as close to, the fabled four-quarter performance. They got some junk time goals, which Fakes was a little bit like, it would have been good for them not to. And I know that there were quite a lot of people that wanted to win on aggregate across the season, and then some other people that wanted to win 120-60. There were a lot of factors, but the fact that you're playing those games in that game means that it was pretty comfortable. And aside from Chad Warner, they didn't have a lot going for them.
How good was Chad Warner in other news? Thursday night was almost perfect example of I got to enjoy a Brisbane Lions fairly dominant win, and I got to see a man play AFL to almost its highest quality. That was almost reminiscent of Judd 2003 or whatever it was when he kicked 5 in us in that half. That was that was special.
But the big difference is West Coast won.
Yes.
So, and that's where my criticism, I like Chad Warner, but my criticism of him is I think that he plays really well when they get absolutely belted.
Yeah, I like 2022 grand final as well, yeah.
And I know that there surely are games where he kind of drags them up, but never, finals and stuff like that, I saw someone, his goal was amazing, and someone said, oh, he's like a baby Judd, and I'm like, Judd had won a Brownlow and a premiership and a Norm Smith and was still younger than what Chad Warner is now, so...
True.
If anything,
it was a cracking game.
I know. I'm being extremely negative about Chad Warner, but I just, do it when it counts, buddy.
Do you think he will get the 10 coaches' votes and 3 Brownlow votes from that game? Because, like I said, votes are going to be tough from our end. Well, for me anyway, to give votes for Lions players because I thought it was a very even team performance. I thought, all in all, Chad was probably the best player on the ground.
Yes, but Yes, he was the best player, but was he the most impactful? Possibly. I think he'll get the 3 Brownlow votes, and I think he'll get 9 coaches' votes. That would be my prediction.
It would be tough for both coaches to give 5 and 5 in a game that's decided by 7 goals, but I mean, Chad did everything he possibly could. So a huge shout out to him, and for Swans fans that may or may not be tuning in to this for whatever reason, it was an immense performance.
For those people, sorry for what I just said. It's because they're already gone. Beautiful stuff. So we had the team news come out pretty early on in the week, obviously, and it was basically a like for like with Brain going out and Lester going in, which it didn't make a whole lot of sense on face value because we were sort of thinking, well, I guess that means that Gallup gets put forward and then there's, but what's going to happen here? So it was kind of the third option of the 2 that we outlined last week. But then when we got to the game, by golly gee, it made sense.
100%. And I think it probably threw a spanner in the works as well when Sydney's team came out and they dropped Hayden McLean and put in Peter Laddams as well. I don't think Fags and the coaching staff were probably expecting that to be fair. And it certainly didn't work for Sydney, put it that way. Because, I thought, well, we both thought it was either going to be one of Dizzy going out and it would be a like-for-like swap there, or Jimmy Tunstall would get dropped and then there'd be shuffling. So, as you said, it was the third of 2 options that we discussed. And, I guess in the end it made some sort of sense because of the way that Sydney's forward line was structured with Logan McDonald, who did 3/5 of FA. Charlie Kerner.
Amati too, and Charlie Kerner
was Charlie Kerner was fine. Yeah, but
he was fine. He kicked more goals than he probably deserved to kick, but at the same time, you got to be there to kick him. So, but what it probably does say, and it probably a bit lost on me, is that Brain was ostensibly playing as in Lester's role whilst he had been there, and they'd been trying to keep that defensive structure. But then, to have him, Gardner, Frog, I just mentioned him twice, Gallup and Andrews all of our tools playing in the back line, it enabled a pretty weird situation of Harris Andrews being some sort of marauding front sweeper.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked the way Harris was used. He got further up the ground and not in a bad way. Because quite often if we talk about Harris Andrews getting sucked up the ground, it means something's gone wrong.
He's getting dragged. Yeah, he's getting dragged by his man. Whereas this one, he had license to kill, man. And he was there as a weird link player, popping up in the corridor. One of my favourite moments from the game was when he took a mark in sort of the half space inside the square and then just held the ball with a handball, looking to play on, and then didn't, and then just kicked. And I was just like, what? I don't understand, but I like it.
There's a fantastic review of that piece of play as well from Enhanced Football, who, footy fans would probably know Enhanced Football. They're sort of AFL kicking coaches that they're the guys responsible for helping Christian Petrarca's kicking this year. But they broke down that play really well. And Bruce Reville, despite him not getting a touch in that whole passage of play, was really instrumental in that. And as you said, Harris got the ball right in the middle of the ground. He's looking for the handball because we had about 3 or 4 runners coming through, Bruce being one of them. He keeps running. Harris hits the kick, and Bruce is running right by him, and like easy handball received, but instead of, receiving the handball, he actually points inboard. He goes, "You've got 2 men free," like right in the sort of 35 metres out, straight in front. And that's where the kick goes into Bailey. It's a really good sort of piece of analysis. So check out Enhanced Football for that one.
I will indeed have to check that out because I'm not familiar with that. So, good tip. Well learning today, huh? You learn something new every day. The first quarter was pretty cagey. I know how it's like you can tell we're on, and if we're not, we're cooked. You could tell we were on, even though we weren't converting on the scoreboard. It was we were looking good, and Sydney were looking a little bit weird.
Yeah, it was. It was a pretty, for Sydney fans. Obviously, looking at this game through a different lens, I would imagine they're walking away from that pretty disappointed with the way they showed up. I guess you look at games different ways of they were good or we were bad. I think we're looking at this game we were good and we did X, Y, Z that shows that we were good. But Sydney were pretty poor on the night as well. So I imagine Sydney fans probably aren't all that surprised with what I said before. Their form leading into this game was scratchy at best. I figured the bye would probably serve them good to reset a little bit. Obviously, Gordon came in for them, and Tom McCartan. You could tell it was Gordon's first game back in 3 months or whatever.
Gordon did look a little bit rusty, but at the same time, probably didn't have the impact that David King hoped he would have after 5 minutes. If you're in the know, you understand. But the first quarter we were definitely on, and they weren't playing super well. It got to a point though, I think maybe 7 goals in, that we conceded, I think 6 pretty bad errors or unforced errors that led to goals. And there was just kind of weird stuff. It was Moddy getting caught holding the ball, Jasper kind of doing stuff that he's been doing. Got done, and then Berry dropped the mark, and then Fledder had to mop up and went for a bounce when it wasn't there. It was a bit strange. It was, And even Gardner losing track of the ball, it was a weird one. It's just weird things where you're okay, Sydney could have 1 goal. Noah Ainsworth getting caught holding the ball on the boundary by Rowbottom when he's getting tackled before he has the ball. That sort of stuff where you're just man, what? Yeah, Sydney were more in the game than they probably deserve to be. Now, I'll ask you a question. When did you hear that it was a charity game? And B, were you scared?
Charity game?
Yeah, the goal kicking.
Yeah, I did see that actually before the bounce. It didn't really register too much with me. $20,000 for the Lions Legacy, because this is on me. I'm not 100% across what Lions Legacy and stuff do.
No, I more meant the idea that we normally kick 7 goals, 43.
Yeah, I know. I do get that. But yeah, so I did say that, but it was good. The accuracy was fine. It wasn't inaccurate. It wasn't accurate. It was just sort of fine. It helped that Riley Bice was one of our better players.
Yeah, well, a perfectly cromulent scoreboard in the end. Yeah, I mean, they had a few nightmares too going out of the back, out of their back half, but a couple of 7-point plays, as my old man would have said. But heading into halftime, we had pretty handy lead. I think we were good value for kicking goals at the end of the second quarter and the third quarter, just to kind of add a little bit of extra. We should have kicked an extra 2 on 3-quarter time, but alas, what will be will be. I got my Jared Berry goal in the first quarter. I loved that.
Yep, lovely. I every time he's lining up for goal, I think of 2 things. I think of you, and I think of him flushing that goal in the 2024 grand final. That just goes. It could be one of the straightest kicks I've ever seen in my life, actually. 50 out on a slight angle, and it just goes dead straight the whole way.
His and Haywood from Sydney, his in that game as well, was similarly just like there was a magnet sucking it into the goal. I think I was them kicking 2 goals. I was like, oh no, back in the day. But yeah, your thoughts on sort of the first half on the whole? Like, we kind of did a lot of our work then.
Yeah, it was good. And the thing I probably noticed the most in that first half was just our willingness to mix up CBAs. Like, quite often, Rayner, Bailey, and one of Neil or Dunkley was our first choice centre bounce squad. And I thought, hey, something's happened in this bye that we're trying to mix things up. And it worked wonders because it was clearly Cam Rayner's best game for the year. We saw Cam Rayner do Rayner things, and he wasn't necessarily super effective in the centre bounce, but it allowed him to get into the game and work wonders up forward and just add a little bit of variety to that centre mix. And Dunkley was having a fantastic role, and he's working his way into the season. So I thought our willingness to mix things up in the middle really worked well for us. Our spread of goal kickers was absolutely fantastic. Cunningham did a pretty reasonable job on Charlie Cameron. I thought, would Charlie end up with 2 goals in the end? I thought,
yeah.
Charlie made the most of his opportunities when he was presented with them. Cunningham probably won the battle, I would say. He did a great job on it.
I think Cameron was getting around the ground as well, though, which kind of, I think, you got to learn, and he was cropping up in different areas, and I think that fluidity for the team to be able to do that, super important. And the ruck situation was a whole another kettle of fish. Where I tell you what, Sydney are in a lot of trouble if and when Grundy retires. And
he gave away 4 free kicks or something across the night?
Yeah, all for crossing the middle centre
Which is
line.
weird because he was the guy in pre-season.
Oh, that was abusing it. Yeah.
Yeah. He sort of stopped and propped and waited for his opponent to come across the line. So for him to sort of have the nous to take advantage of it in that way, but then, and apparently I've heard after the fact that he's like, they give away a fair amount each and every week. And Grundy is like the number 1 offender for that as well. So that's just free inside 50s for us.
Yeah, and we probably didn't need him. Yeah.
No.
So it was an interesting kind of game. We the last quarter was the last quarter, and it existed. The third quarter was.
I'm glad we won it. I'm glad we won the quarter by a point. And I wonder if that came into Harris's thinking at the end when he spoiled the ball and, celebrated. And there's been a bit of talk about that, but whatever.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I'm glad we won the quarter.
To put it one way, if you... And, Damien Barrett's a big culprit of this, saying that, he praises Morris and Lohman, but arrogance is... his thing didn't make any sense anyway. Grammatical nightmare. But... if you can't be a bit arrogant and you're coming off 2 flags, when can you? Particularly if he is professing that it's okay to be arrogant. When? When? Don't know. 3 premierships? So, okay. Anyway, I could keep going, but I don't think that I will. Connor McKenna is putting together a pretty neat little season.
Isn't he what?
He's kind of filling that Calamarchi role.
Yeah, probably differently. He played a reasonable role on Blakey across the weekend, but it's funny because we sort of half mentioned it last week. It was just like, hey, we need to give Connor McKenna, or the week before after the Richmond game, just we need to give him a shout out because he's put together 5 or 6 really good weeks here and just playing his role. And it's weird now because I can't imagine our starting team without him. He's just really cemented himself in that forward line, and he's not playing a role that I'm thinking, we've got too many of the similar type. It's not like another Lohman or Charlie Cameron. he's got a different role to him. He's got that defensive side to him, and I guess that's from years of playing that halfback as well. Yeah. So
that's what I was kind of getting towards. But it's the sort of thing as well where you go, well, he's somehow become one of those, as I've called them, glue players that then Nathan Buckley stole that from me last year, bastard. But he is a really big proponent of, if you're not in the team, you're the one most at risk.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of, I know Link McCarthy struggled with injuries this season, but like he's kind of done what we sort of thought Link McCarthy would do.
Yeah, big time.
And he's gone, you know what, I've been out of this team off and on for 2 years. I'm going to crack at it. And he's done a really good job.
Yeah, 100%. Like he, sub in 24 and then, did he play any games last year at all? Maybe one? I
think he might have played one, but the thing is, in 23, he was when he came to the club and he played every game.
Yeah.
So he went from playing every game on halfback and then, didn't. So
and then I think he might have been. He was like the perfect sub. It's like, oh yeah, we really like Kenny in this sub role. Comes in at halftime and we can throw him at halfback or we can throw him at half forward and he's good for a couple of goals. He's been really, really good. Really good.
Dare I say the best Irishman that's ever played for the club? Piers Hanley.
Piers Hanley had some really good years.
Yeah, but, no premierships, and he went to Gold Coast, so...
Yeah. It's an interesting
You're forgetting the main factor about me, that I'm spiteful.
Yeah, I do. Believe me, I haven't forgotten that. But no, I completely agree. Connor McKenna has been absolutely fantastic. And again, a really good game. Like, since he's come in, he's performed, like, every game has been like 8 out of 10, I would say.
And if you can play 8 out of 10 and you're as talented as our players, you're going to win more games than not. Isaac Heaney was pretty useless, even though he got like 30 touches. Didn't rate his game at all.
Yeah, and he was so
mad. He was such a complaining, mad little like flappy boy. Even from minute one, when Draper took a mark over the top of him, you could tell that he was going to have one of those Isaac Heaney days. So, good for them.
Just a really good night. Really good night. The whole midfield, like both Ashcrofts, fantastic games. Dunkley was back into it. Neil, another great game. We add McCluggage back into that, and hopefully he can get back somewhere to near his best in the next couple of weeks. Kitty is due to come back maybe this week after. I don't know if we're actually expecting anyone back this week against Geelong, but Essendon, I think we're expecting maybe two or three back potentially. I think McCluggage and Kitty are on the cusp, and then Oscar Allen's not too far away after that. So starting to get some of those troops back that we've been missing for the last 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, and it puts us into a pretty good position because we've kind of filtered through some of the, I'd say, the lesser players. So we've now got a bit of a tight system going on at the moment. Fags did talk about the idea of like having the luxury after these games to be able to stagger them heading into finals, which was good to hear. Now, did you go back and watch the telecast on El Foxo to see our favourite weatherman?
No, I was going to ask you about that because obviously being at the ground, you don't get that experience, and everyone's sort of left scratching their heads when Logan Morris's goal didn't count. And I guess we'll talk about that later on as well. But yeah, how was Vossi in the Melbourne studios?
Well, I tell you what, because in the pre-match crew was Dunstall, Vossi, not Kath Lognan, who's the other one?
Sarah Jones and
Sarah Jones. Sarah Jones and Dunstall are such a good, they bounce off each other so well. And Montagna. Now, you know my feelings about Montagna, but I tell you what, when he's sitting next to Michael Voss and Dunstall, he is... he wilts because, there's about 1 million premierships between the other two. But it was nice to have... his eloquence wasn't quite there, he seemed a little bit out of practice, but it was good value. It was good, and he still clearly has a place in his heart for the Lions. And I tell you what, it was a bit of a shame when they crossed over to your man David King and Jack Riewoldt, and that level of expert is horrendous. So, welcome back, Michael Voss.
I keep telling you, it's Friday Fireball, and it's Fireball that does the heavy lifting there. Those that know.
Whatever you say. I tell you what. Now, this is a slight aside. Have you seen Kane Cornes kind of debating with random podcasters?
Yeah, the Footy Fan Network. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, my first thought was, why am I not on there? But then my second thought was, it would be a mirror match with Kane Cornes, where we'd probably just find ourselves agreeing with everything. So, if the Footy Fan Network is listening, maybe not. Get you on there, but then also scrub our name from it, because I don't want to be associated with your level of argument with him. That does a lot to endear him, I think, that he's willing to do that. And I think he raises some interesting... There was some absolute, mind-boggling takes by the podcasters out there. And I know that I've had a couple, but have I really? Have I really? When you've got a Carlton guy saying that James Hird is the best option for a Carlton coach.
Oh yeah, but he's a sleeper agent trying to bury Essendon, surely.
No, but he was talking about him coming to Carlton.
Jesus.
It was like that Billy Madison thing of everyone has just become dumber listening to this. The Collingwood guys got absolutely just... To hear that Oscar Steen is a generational talent, and it's like he's played 3 games.
I mean, it's hard to know what us in 2016 would be saying. You know me. Hey,
well, no. Well, yeah,
I'm the guy, and hand up. I said this. This came out of my mouth in 2015 or whenever it was. I said, mark my words, Hipwood and Josh Shackey will be better than Jonathan Brown and Eric Hipwood. I said that. So
better than Jonathan Brown, and I'm assuming you meant Alistair Lynch, because you said Eric
Bradshaw,
Hipwood in there a second time. Oh, Brown and Bradshaw, okay.
I said that.
That's fine, but my question is, why did you say that? What prompted you to say that?
Because I'm an idiot, and I was clinging on to anything that I could.
You really were wacky for Shackey. Do you know how many players that we are witnessing now are generational talents? This is kind of a trick question.
There's a lot.
The answer by definition is one.
One.
Because of a generation, there is one.
Sure.
That's what a generational talent means by definition. It's like a blue moon. When people are like, once in a blue moon. It's like a blue moon is actually once a year. So... At least, it's the second full moon of a month. But if anyone wants to, talk about pagan nonsense, and actually I can't call things nonsense if they're... Whatever, I'm out of here. Cut this.
What I will say is, and I think it goes back to last week, that one-handed pick-up at full tilt from Marcus Bontempelli and then wheeling around kicking the goal, that's synonymous with generational talent.
Maybe he's the older generation. I don't know. Let's do some votes. I want to watch you squirm.
And as I said, very difficult. Very difficult. 1 to Ty Gallop, that even though he made some blues on Thursday night, I thought he did some really, really good things. 2 for Connor McKenna, for the same things that we've spoken about, and it is a cumulative couple of votes for Kenny here, if I'm perfectly honest.
I must admit I didn't expect either of us to vote for him, which is why I squeezed him in there. So
yeah, no, and I had this preloaded because I've been thinking about this since Thursday, because it's very difficult. As I said,
if you vote for who I'm going to vote for, I'm going to be so annoyed.
Josh Dunkley, the 3 for me.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm not annoyed.
And both Ashcrofts very stiff to miss out on a vote. Levi's probably best game for the year. Will backing up that performance against Richmond. He was very, very good. Lockie Neal again, very, very good. The forward line, like Kai had a pretty reasonable game as well. Motti, again, very good. So, yeah, as I said, very tough. But, those are the three I'm sticking with. Dunkley, his best game for the year, I would have thought.
It's almost like post-bye, they were sort of like, you can increase your load after all your surgeries. And we're just like, bam. So my one is L. Ashcroft.
Yeah.
And anyone who's taking exception to his mouthiness and chirpiness and that sort of thing, don't. You got to have players like that. Otherwise, people think you're kind of a bit weird. Two, Dunkley, for what you said. Sam Draper's getting my 3.
Okay.
He absolutely smashed Grundy all around the ground. All around the ground. And I know Fort was a big part of that too, but Draper was unbelievable. He was taking marks behind the ball. Yeah. That's all I really care to say. He had a really good game. Kicked a goal.
He was.
He gave us first use a lot.
Which was great. Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Sam Draper.
Plenty of, like, as I said, and Bailey, another great game as well. Very stiff to miss out on the vote.
Bailey had a lot more intent to his game, which I really liked. He was putting, kind of like we were having this conversation last week, where we're like, if you're going to leave, make sure you play good hard footy. And he played good hard footy in a way he hasn't played hard footy this season, I don't think. Could be wrong. You know, the hip and shoulder on fella on the wing.
Lloyd,
a couple of like really nice contested efforts and things like that. He looked like he had a bee in his bonnet in a good way. So, yes, he missed out. Neil missed out. I mean, Will Ashcroft, had he kicked 2 of his 3 goal of the year attempts, possibly could have factored in. He seems to be moving a lot better.
Yeah, Cam Rayner probably...
Yeah, Cam Rayner was good too.
His best game for the year. Probably stiff to miss out on that vote there as well. But as I said, very tough game to vote on. And those votes, thanks to hoponbrewtours.com.au.
And just a word on Fletcher. I don't think that his game was as bad as what some people are thinking.
No, not at all.
He had a lot of the ball early. He made a couple of mistakes, but I mean, thank goodness it was the sort of game that making a lot of mistakes and turnovers didn't matter somehow. So, excellent.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you there as well. The flow-on effect from getting some of these players back into the AFL system means that our VFL team had a very, very impressive win as well for the first time in a minute against the Tassie Devils, getting up by 10 goals, which is unheard of in 2026 for our VFL team. Just having blokes like Reece Torrent back in the team, Cody Curtin like playing his trade back in the twos as well. So a really good team performance from those guys. Sam Marshall was a star yet again. So hopefully the start of a good back end for those guys too. And they'll probably get maybe 1 or 2 more AFL listed players back in the team there as well. And probably blokes like Jimmy Tunstall, you know, once Hugh comes back into that team, he's probably most likely to fall out of favour. And if Kitty Coleman comes back into the team, where does that leave? Where does that leave Connor McKenna? Like, he's done absolutely nothing wrong, as we've spoken about here, to lose his spot. Link McCarthy, another name that's potentially going to come back into that system as well. So it's good news for the club all round because, as I said, the flow-on effect, they've had a big win against the Tassie Devils. So, really good stuff.
I mean, I sound like a bloody broken record, but yeah, the players not in the team are the most at risk of not being in the team. And I think between Zorko and Coleman, like, you probably can't put both of them in the team. And I think you're going to shift things around to get Zorko in the team, but you might not for Kitty at this point in time.
It's tough, isn't it? Because the balance over the last couple of weeks in that back line, as I said, and I was a little bit surprised.
Well, you're not taking Answorth out of the team.
Nope.
You're not taking Wilmot out of the team. You could maybe shift Fletcher and put one back there. Like, that's an option, but because we've seen Levi have more CBAs, but then would he get them if McCluggage is there? There's so many just like, if this, then that, actual sliding doors.
Yeah. Which does bring us to our questions. Thanks to Crisp Marketing giving you free Brisbane Lions Fancast tickets. They're available at our website, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. The first question from long-time listener Danielle. Harris playing higher up the field. She thinks that worked well. Should it be a little bit more permanent?
I think it's a kind of needs-must thing. If we come up against like Fremantle or Adelaide, if Adelaide are playing all three of their blokes, it'd be hard to work that, because I think, with no disrespect to Hayden McLean, Armadi and Curnow, that doesn't really track in the same way that, the Big Kahuna, Tracy, Tracy, Imus and Voss, or, Tex, Fogarty and the other guy, Thrillhouse. They're just not quite the same. And it's the sort of thing where, depending on who you're playing, you might need a better defender on a better forward. This week, it might work. I mean, Harris tends to get pretty good value out of Shannon Neal, but Shannon Neal's a hard one because I don't think anyone else can play on him. He's too big.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily. I wouldn't like to see Gallup play on him because I think that could be detrimental. And I just think that he's too.
I think it's a case of like that matchup is already won before the game starts, because Shannon Neal's confidence must be like all-time low walking into that, like walking onto the field and seeing Harris Andrews waiting for him. He goes, I'm in for another 2 hours of nothing here because I'm going to get smacked. Like that game, that matchup is won from the second he steps out on the field. It's a mental game. Whereas if he steps out and Gallup's waiting for him, he goes, all right, well, things are a little bit different here. Now I've got a chance to apply my trade and do things a little bit differently here.
In fairness, in the reverse fixture earlier on in the year, Neal worked Harris into bad positions to enable the others to do well. So in a weird way, he kind of got that matchup on his terms. Yeah. And I would probably be remiss to say they wouldn't mention that maybe to Harris. But yeah, it looks kind of like the old, Harris's aggression and his, he seemed a little bit passive over this season. I don't know, seemed a bit strange, but good question. But I think that it's something that will happen when it happens.
Yeah, fair shout. Guavocado, Geelong.
Also, before you get onto this one, sucked in about Adelaide, Guav.
Yeah, and also thanks, Port, for doing us a favour that, moved us up to 5th on the ladder. Geelong, also a handball through the middle at all cost team like Sydney. Should we use the same strategy of clocking up the corridor and running them at them to counter-attack like we did this week? I think Geelong are a little bit more adaptable than Sydney. And Chris Scott, he's been there for 15 years, 16 years, yeah. He's very much all right, we're coming up against this team, we need to do X, Y, and Z, as opposed to Sydney is like, all right, this is our game style, we're going to do this, and then not necessarily having a plan B and or C. Geelong sort of very much adaptable to who they're coming up against, and they obviously got it very right against us a couple of weeks ago. It only feels like 4 or 5 games ago, and it probably was. Very strange.
Yeah, we played Geelong every...
it's crazy. 6 times in between West Coast games. Like we played West Coast and then we played Geelong 6 times before we played West Coast again.
There's no way that Chris Scott wouldn't have watched the game and gone, all right, and then immediately probably would have been thinking about something different. So just a slight aside, the start of the game against Sydney was really interesting because they almost went to a kick mark and we were trying to play quickly. It was very crazy. Weird. And then it sort of settled. But, like Fags, I don't know if there's anything to read into this, but he was quite transparent with what our approach would be to the Sydney game pre-game.
Yeah.
He's saying we need to have pressure from the front and we need to work, coach lingo. And does that sort of say, I mean, to me, you wouldn't necessarily reveal that to, Lynchy and Brownie. But at the same time, maybe it is that easy, or maybe, like, is he trying to do like a bit of a double swerve here?
Well, I guess it's like you've obviously spent all week or fortnight preparing, and they're not going to change it minutes, hours, days before the game to what they've tried to do. So it's like it's going to work or it's not going to work to an extent. And then if it's not
fair.
working, you make changes throughout the game to, all right, well, we need to go back to what we do best. It did work, clearly, and that's probably the most pleasing thing about that game on Thursday night is our defensive intent, our team defense, and able to stifle Sydney's ball movement, because that's where we have been smashed, is that defensive transition, and to hold them to their lowest score from D50 to inside 50 in 10 years or something. Brilliant.
Well, it just goes to show they were obviously looking at some stuff, and Fakes again did mention that they kind of looked at it in amongst the trio of games where we got kind of embarrassed pretty handily. I think Geelong more adaptable, they'll prove a different challenge, but
big time.
They're in good form. We're now 4 wins on the trot. Like, it's not, if we were Carlton, they'd talk about us.
I don't know if that translates into 2026, but historically Geelong off the bye has been like one of those narratives of like, oh, they're no good, and yeah.
Stop talking.
But I think, you'd have to think Chris Scott takes this game a little bit more seriously than others, because over the course of the last, 4 or 5 years, the Geelong and Brisbane have had some really good and meaningful matchups, and some of the bigger games have gone our way when it matters. Obviously, the grand final.
Another reason as well is because they simply haven't won some of the games they should have. So they're in a vulnerable spot.
Well,
yeah. But more, this season. So Geelong aren't in as half as good a position as they probably deserve to be in, but they're not.
Yeah.
So, we're in a position here where, Adelaide are going to slaughter West Coast most likely, and they'll probably jump us, but we could be in the top 4.
Yeah, top 4 is
with
up
a
for
good
grabs.
result against Geelong. So, who would have thunk it? But, sorry, I knocked the microphone there. So, just for emphasis.
As well. Okay, so let's get to a question that's come through from your mother. And it is about Levi.
Okay. Oh.
She's pretty annoyed about Kane Corns getting stuck into Levi for being a little bit lippy, and also various keyboard warriors giving him no credit as a footballer, despite the fact that he's got a couple of premierships under his belt. So you've already sort of touched on this.
Levi or Will?
Levi,
yeah. Yeah.
Go. Play on.
Let him talk. I don't think he cares. I don't think anyone cares.
I don't think he cares, no.
Is he a little shit? Of course he is. But, he's also extremely talented and sees the game. And he's going to be tough as nails. Tough as they come soon. I admittedly would think this isn't quite as breakout a year as
we had hoped, yeah.
I would have thought that he would have had, but I also think that it's probably difficult to do that in this team.
100%.
If there's not really any room to go and let's use a terrible analogy of saying he couldn't do what Nick Dacos did at Collingwood in this team. I don't think it's possible. Even if you're that talented, I don't think that the possessions or the structural allowance is there. But if he's chipping in with 26 and a goal, particularly his goals off proactivity, and he's getting stuck in, he's causing a ruckus, it's fine. It's fine. I don't love the leading with a head thing, but players do that.
They do.
You did it, famously. I'm never going to let you live that down.
No, it would appear that way.
I didn't hear Kane Corns get stuck into him, but it must have been on the 7 broadcast or something. But
No, it was on the AFL website. The
round so far.
Yeah, the other one on Friday night, the first thoughts or something like that, whatever it is. Yeah. With him and Nat Edwards, he just said like, put the lip away. He quantified it by saying like, we know you're going to be a star. We know you're going to play 200 games, and we know you're super talented. You don't like, you can put that aspect of the game away.
Maybe that's one of his strengths. Maybe he has
fair,
fun doing it.
Yeah, and I think the counter argument that I saw was like Ben Ainsworth plays best. Like he needs to do that. Like he knows that within himself. Like if I'm not in the game, I need to go. I'll just go and start something, whether physical or verbal or someone, to get the best footy out of me. And maybe Levi Ashcroft's the same. Maybe it's classic younger brother syndrome. I don't know. Like I wouldn't mind.
It's fun. It's fun to be lippy with people when you're playing a game. Like
yeah, I suppose.
I mean, you go too far, you get your head smacked, but that hasn't happened to me yet.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the attitude that maybe he's got is like he's obviously just grown up just winning his whole life and nothing bad's ever happened to him. He's never suffered consequences, and maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I don't know. Whatever, just keep playing good footy, I suppose. Secondary to that, a lot more centre bounce time for Levi, as with the others I spoke about before, Bailey and Rayner as well, were sort of almost first options on Thursday night. Do you think that's worth exploring a little bit more for our midfield mix? What does it mean when Hugh McCluggage comes back? And then again to that, Jasper Fletcher, does he play his best footy up on the wing as well? Do we move him up the ground a little bit more and have Berry and Fletcher as our starting wingmen?
I don't think it's as rigid as that. I think there are definitely roles within the team where you are part of the CBA rotation and you're not. So I think it would be that one of the wingers would be, the half forwards would be. I don't know that any of the half backs necessarily are. So it could be the case of, it requires shuffling. And to be honest, I'm not the person to try and squeeze everybody into this team. I do like that Levi's getting more CBA because I think it does get a fair bit out of him because he makes decisions quick, and I think his quick decision making can be really effective. The Fletcher we kind of talked about before, but yeah, I like it, and you know me, I like having a lot of options. I've talked about it, but go back to 2019 where I think we played Melbourne and we had about 8 or 9 players float through the midfield rotation against Viney, Oliver and Petrarca, and they couldn't deal with it. So, but then obviously they did win a premiership later on. So maybe they just worked at their craft really well for 1 year only. So
that's all it needs, really.
Yeah. Well, they won in Perth, so it's got an asterisk next to it.
All right, let's get into some tipping. Thanks to EB by Hiker and
Did
EB
you?
by Hiker.
Sorry. Go. Did we have that one about the umpiring? Do we want to?
Yeah.
It's really long, but do we want to just cut back and just touch on the umpiring situation?
Yeah, let's do that real quickly.
So we had one.
We'll
just do a click here.
No, bugger it. Benny says, putting myself in the shoes of the league execs, I understand.
You don't have to read all of it, but he did write a lot, Benny.
Yes,
we love your work, but
understand why you approach umpire mistakes the way that they do. It prevents messy liaison with the clubs and fielding appeals and around post-match results, correlations, all that sort of stuff. I guess the crux of the argument is, and it comes down to this Logan Morris non-goal goal. Individual things on the line, including Coleman medals, like he would be sitting equal with Jeremy Cameron right now had that goal been allowed. Percentage comes into it a little bit.
But also look at the Ben Keys one from the showdown last night. Did you see that one? Where the ball clearly bounced over the line back in, and then they had all the time in the world to pay it. Like, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen or noticed any new umpires this season?
Noticed, no.
Because
I'm sure they are there, but I haven't noticed it.
I don't know because you only seem to see ones that are recognisable. Now, I was under the belief that by getting rid of the bounce, you opened the potential umpiring pool exponentially of people that were maybe really good umpires or good decision makers or saw the game, but they physically couldn't bounce the ball.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any evidence of that. I haven't gone through the umpiring roll call, but you'd think you'd be like, oh, I haven't seen this guy before. I don't recognize that voice, or this sort of thing. But there's their inability to throw the ball in, even though they have license to run in. The guy at the showdown last night was ripping them in from the boundary line. It was great. They were going way into the field, whereas the ones where we are.
What I will say for Thursday night is the guy that was throwing it up like 1.5 meters. Like it was, they were
like a
real
basketball tap.
Yeah, it was not going up high at all.
One thing that did you notice this?
Weird.
They were wearing short black socks.
No, I didn't notice that, but I do know
I
that
didn't
was...
notice it too. That was the better half. But
yeah,
but that's if I had to wear that and not those heinous green long socks, I'd consider it getting closer.
Sure.
But no, I thought that the umpiring pool was supposed to be increasing with the abolishment of the bounce. Greg Swan seems everything that's going bad, and I think we talked about this. Did we talk about this last week? With how he seemed to just be the fall guy for Andrew Dillon rather than anything.
Well, I guess that's his job. And before that, it's Laura Kane, and it still is, but not really at the same stage. Like anything that's going wrong with the game, it's like, okay, fix it. You're the guy, fix it.
But to me, the main issues with the game is that they're using ARC to judge boundary throw-ins, and it's like, just do what the Sandful does. I said this in round one. I'm like, they've got this wrong. They're the weird, mystical, only bloody sports umpiring body that will change the rules mid-season. Doesn't happen in any other sport.
And have rule of the week.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it is we played. I think it was maybe that Freo game where every kick was getting called non-15 on us. Yeah.
Yeah, but it only happened in our game.
And it didn't translate into the next week after that. It was just sort of all right, well, this week we're coming at you for this.
Yeah. But, yeah, so, I don't know. The Morris goal should have stood. It was baffling because you can see him ask all of the right questions. The umpires need to be full-timers. They need to be full-timers. There needs to be 100%. More seriousness taken into this because you have the opportunity now. Eddie Maguire's insane, and I haven't listened to him for years now, but his approach to umpiring was really quite reasonable a few years ago when he was sort of outlining how they should do it. I think that 4 umpires is too many. They don't need that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... that umpires. Anyway.
Let's get to some tipping things at EB by Hiker. ebbyhiker.com.au, and they are offering game day packages for the Socceroos games as well, so keep your eyes peeled at that website, ebbyhiker.com.au.
That's an early bloody start.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the tipping. And in the time that we've been recording this podcast, that Gold Coast and Freo game is done. Gold Coast managing 3 goals for a game, which is... Anyway, didn't get to see a lot of the game because I've been here chatting to you. Freo's won that handsomely. I've ended up on 5, and that is because I tipped Sydney, and I lost out on the showdown, as I'm sure a lot of people would have.
Yeah, basically anyone that didn't get their tips in this week got absolutely hammered. So, because it was all the home teams. I got a big 6er.
Yep. So you missed out on the showdown as well?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I thought Port Adelaide were going to get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, and fair enough.
Yeah, it is a weird one, though, because, they've got, Butters and the Hornet running around, and Aaliyah and Georgiadis, and it's like, well, you can make stuff work. Where are you sitting?
I'm sitting 87th. Quickly, a big shout out to our 2 winners for this week who managed to get 6 from 7 and the same margin. Lockie G and Jordan S. Joloff, Dennemeister and Smithford are your tipping names. Get in touch. You've won yourself 300 waypoints thanks to EB by Hacker, of course. Our overall winner at this stage, which is Hayden F., is walking away with the grand final watch party worth $790. Thanks to EB by Hacker as well. So get in touch via socials or email us at blfancast@gmail.com to get your prize. Let's have a look at next week, and we've got another Thursday game, GMHBA Stadium. We're coming up against the Cats. I'm tipping the Cats.
Of course you are.
Yep. I'm tipping the Cats by 2 goals.
I'm not tipping the Cats.
No, I didn't expect you to. How much are we winning by, according to you?
Less than 2 goals.
Okay. As we discussed before we started recording, and no, it's not the Freddo Frog chat. It's
okay, right. I was like, here we go. Now we're getting onto the good stuff. Freddo Frog tier list.
Yeah, we are if we're on, we win, and we win by a lot. There hasn't been too many, we lost to the Bulldogs just this year, but there hasn't been too many honourable losses. And I suppose not too many close wins either, really.
No, well, we did lose by like a point to Melbourne, but it was sort of like, to me, the Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs game, it's like, screw those bad boys up. Like, that's sort of more, it's not like, we played really well, we just didn't quite get there. We play really well, we win.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Speaking of the Bulldogs, they're coming up against the Swans at the SCG, yeah.
What do you think of the Bulldogs?
I don't know what to think about the Bulldogs, and I've been saying that for
7 years.
10 years, yeah. When they lose, they lose.
They lose the plot more than, they lose their ability to have, cognizant, strategic thoughts, and you're like, what are you guys doing? Which is a bit like us, really, but also we don't do it as much and have premierships. Melbourne, Cloak of Invincibility. Let's go.
Adelaide to beat West Coast.
That's what I mean.
Hawthorn, Melbourne. Hawthorn, they're looking pretty good. That's down in UTAS as well, so Hawthorn with an advantage there. Fremantle.
I always do my one for the week. I think GWS will win, but I'm tipping Fremantle.
Fremantle, at this stage, until they prove me otherwise, they are winning. They are so good.
No. Yeah.
And it will happen. It seems very unlikely that they're just going to go from here on out just winning every week. So it should happen, but I don't see it happening at the same point because they look bulletproof.
Well, it's a good thing we've got... No, I'm not going to go there. Gold Coast.
Right. Yeah.
They can't continue to stink up the joint, and Collingwood also suck.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a nothing game, isn't it? 4:15 on Saturday. I will go the Suns, but if the Pies win this, I'm not going to be outraged. Good to have 9 games of footy, by the way, as well.
Yeah. And then this one. So,
Sunday. Yeah, the last 3 games can also get in the bin, by the way. Speaking of...
So you're like, thank goodness for 9 games.
Yeah, but the last 3 can piss off. Carlton will beat Richmond, St Kilda will beat Essendon, and Port will beat North, but also North will win.
Yeah. Hard to argue with that logic.
That's where I'm sitting with those last... Yeah, I take it back.
It depends. I think
let's get rid of 2 games.
I think the North and Port Adelaide game will be a late Sunday vibes base.
That'll be good.
I think that'll be actually a good game because but
that'll be fun.
I'm talking about the tip. The tip will be like that one.
Yeah. I think Port should win, but North will, is where I'm at.
See, I think that it's kind of like they both should win. I think it's the sort of game where they both go and going, we should be winning this game.
Yeah, and if Port didn't just beat Adelaide in a showdown, I'm all in on North, but because they did that, Port's been good this year without getting the results. They've been good. One of the better.
They've been kind of in games, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
You love Port, don't you?
No, you know I don't.
Famously, Brooksy.
Famously cannot stand that football club, but they're earning a bit of respect from me this year, is what I'll say. You know what I do like is the fact that you're in charge of this week's game.
Yeah. So how was the game received last week?
No negative feedback, so...
I got no feedback at all.
No news is good news, as they say.
Yeah, okay. So, now I road tested this one because I wanted to do this one.
Yeah.
So I made my partner... I made her sit through the game to understand what the game was. A little bit more difficult because she didn't know some of the players.
Sure.
But I scored 19 out of 22. I did use my wild card.
Okay.
And I did end up knowing the 3 players. So, do you want to have a guess what year we're in?
No, I don't. Or is it the 2009 elimination final?
No.
No, okay, no idea.
2017, round 1.
2017,
Chris Fagan's first game.
Round 1, okay. So
against Gold Coast Suns.
Oh, where we famously won. I was at a wedding that day.
Oh, so you didn't watch the game?
I didn't watch the game. I was watching...
What are the chances of me picking a game you've not watched?
Yeah. I was watching the scores as it unfolded. All right. 2017. So, Zorko.
Zorko
Beams.
is there. Beams is there.
Rockcliffe.
Rockcliffe is there. Rockcliffe took me a long time to get. I completely forgot he existed.
Yeah, he was there for a year of Fags. Harris Andrews.
2 years? 2 years. No, he was 2 years of Fags.
Yeah, okay.
Rockcliffe.
Harris Andrews at fullback.
Yes.
Bez didn't play yet. Neither did Hugh. Hugh came in at round 3, didn't he? Against the Saints, maybe? All right. Let's work our way.
For reference, he came in against the Bulldogs in round 3.
Yeah, okay.
Berry came in against the Saints.
Froggy.
Froggy's there.
Brent Staker.
No, that's strike 1.
Ooh. Bastanak.
Bastanak is there.
Mitch Robinson.
Mitch Robinson is there.
Who else is in this team? Who's in that forward line?
So far, you have 0 forwards.
Yeah, 0 forwards. God.
You have 2 of the 3 of the centre line.
Hipwood.
Hipwood is there.
In the forwards. Shacky.
Strike 2, baby.
No. Who else is forward then? Far out. Okay, so 2017. So Charlie came after 2017, after he lost the grand final. Disregard that. This was shit. Jared Lyons would have been in this team. No!
He's playing for Gold Coast.
Oh, I'm done. I'm out.
You're done. You're out on a ripe score of about 6.
Yeah, that's gross.
Well, sorry for picking a game you hadn't watched. So, do you want to know this fantastic lineup?
I'll fill me in on this lineup and don't ever call it fantastic again.
Okay. So, forward line, Dan McStay, Michael Close, Jake Barrett.
Oh,
half forwards, it gets worse. Half forwards, Tom Bell, Eric Hipwood, and Lewis Taylor.
Yeah.
Then the centre lines, you were missing Rowan Buick. Half back line, you got Harris Andrews. You were missing Cutler and Mays. Cutler was my wild card when I did this.
Yeah, shout.
And then
Yeah.
the back line, Lester, Gardner, and Nick Robertson. With Steph Martin in the ruck, you got Beams
Yeah.
and Rockcliffe. And then on the interchange, now, I did not get Ben Keys. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
I did not get Ryan Harwood, even though I should have. I think I struck out by then. Then Bastanak, which you got, and Daniel Rich.
How did we
So
finish bottom of the ladder this year? In other news.
It's a good question.
Wooden spoon of the team.
Meanwhile, let's look at some of the people lining up for Gold Coast. Gary Ablett,
Yeah,
Tom
he's
Lynch,
handy.
2 Meter Peter, Tuke Miller, Jack Martin,
Jared Lyons.
Barlow, Jared Lyons, Sard, Stephen May,
Wow.
Joyce's brother, Jara Joyce, Colin
Jesse
Jasny's
Joyce.
brother.
Jesse Joyce, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Gee whiz.
Yeah. So I didn't get Jake Barrett. Somehow I got Tom Bell, Michael Close,
Good for you, man.
and yeah, it was put in some bloody work. It took a long time.
How far Queensland football has come is what I will say.
Well, you've got next week, but we can find out how far Queensland football has come in a fortnight's time. In a like a conceptual way, an obtuse way, but anyway.
Wow. I bombed out on that, and I
You
apologise.
did. I think you got. I would say you kind of got. You had a bit of nervous energy because you're not used to this. You're
No,
not used
not
to
at
being
all.
put in the hot seat.
I'm used to being the
So
quiz
you don't.
master.
You gotta breathe and you gotta take your time, but not as much time as when you were picking that bad football team. That took forever. So
Yeah. I think I was more
Thank
conscious
you,
about not creating dead air on. It's probably it.
Would you forget you're in charge of editing that? You know.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, you could have given me 3 hours and I wouldn't have remembered Tom Bell or Jake Barrett. So
Yeah. Jake Barrett, what a guy. Have I ever told you about when I used to babysit a kid and he had AFL like on the PlayStation and I just was slotting him from the boundary line with Jake Barrett like nobody's business. He was so good from the boundary line, I don't know what it was. He also scored an unbelievable goal against Fremantle in that year, but good for him. When it picked 96 or something.
what a time to be alive. All right, hey,
Yep.
Cats in Geelong. Let's not let Sean Matter kick bloody 5 goals against us, please.
Noah Hansworth is there.
It's true. I don't think we're welcoming back anyone, so no changes. I would have thought.
I don't think so either. I think naming an unchanged team might
No, I
be a
like
good
that.
thing. Yeah,
You know, I
might be
like
a good
that.
thing.
What did you,
now,
just quickly, what did you make of Hippie's second game back?
So I wanted to make an analogy about Eric Hipwood. You know how cosmically, like Jupiter apparently like stops the Earth getting like just totaled by asteroids and stuff?
I didn't
'Cause of
know
its
that, but for all
gravitational-
intents and purposes, for the sake of this conversation, yes. Of course
You
I
didn't
knew
know that. Did you not pay attention to anything? Like Attenborough or like Brian Cox or any of that stuff? You probably do better stuff in your spare time. Hipwood's like the Jupiter of our football team.
Sure.
I'm going to let that analogy just breathe, and that's all I'm going to say about Eric Hipwood. Love the guy a lot.
What a place to end this week's proceedings. Go and watch the Attenborough and Brian Cox in your meantime to understand that
Make
further.
sure it's the right Brian Cox, not the one that's in like... Is he in Sharp or what's he in? I don't know. There's 2 Brian Coxes and it's quite funny. They're both like, him. Yeah, him.